Then let's talk about real quick about navigating QuickBooks Online. Okay, so this is just some key components of navigating QuickBooks Online. We're going to go through it really, really briefly on how that works. So we'll discuss the left navigation bar, the top navigation toolbox or the toolbar, the quick create button, and the difference between QuickBooks Online, quote unquote, accountant and just QuickBooks Online. So the left navigation bar are the buttons on the left side with a dark blue backdrop. That is where most of the uh, centers, customer center, employee center, banking center, sales center, report center, from a desktop perspective, QuickBooks Desktop, they used to call these things centers. So that's where you're going to find most of the centers um, are going to be on the left side of the navigation bar. On the top toolbar, if you're logged in as an accountant, you're gonna see a mixture of things. You're gonna see the accountant button on the top left, which is a green button, which is a shortcut to take you back to QuickBooks Online Accountant. You're gonna see the little toolbar in the top that lets you choose the accountant tools, which will speak towards the end of the webinar. You're gonna see the client switcher. You're going to see the quick create button, which is the one in the middle, or the create button. This is where all new transactions are going to be created. So all transactions are going to be in the create button, and these are separated by task. So all my customers tasks are in one group, all my vendors tasks are in a different group, employees and others. So all transactions, creating new transactions, are going to be done through the create button in that top middle of the screen. Okay, now on the right of the screen, on the gear menu next to the company name, you're gonna see all the place where we configure our lists and our settings. We also do a reconcile through there. So we click on the gear button and click on reconcile. That's where the reconcile button is. So settings, lists, and reconcile, which is not really a transaction, it's gonna be under the gear button, and under the quick create button, you're gonna see is new transactions only. So the difference between logging in as an accountant to a QuickBooks file, to a QuickBooks Online file, which is the one in the top, or logging in as an end user, is that when you're logged in as an accountant, you're going to get the accountant shortcut on the top left with the big green bar there. You're going to get the toolbox, and you're going to have the search box and the recent transactions box be merged into one, which is that white box that says search, um, which is different than from a customer's perspective. They're going to see a search box to the left of the create button, and they're going to see a recent transactions to the right of the create button. So as an accountant, they're going to mix together the search uh, transactions and the recent transactions into a single box called search. So that's a little bit slightly the difference between logging in as an end user or logging in as an accountant. Now, some of the best practices or really important practices are, as we mentioned, use Google Chrome, use multiple tabs to sort of have multiple screens, and use multiple Chrome users. You can search in YouTube how to do this, but multiple Chrome users to possibly access multiple company files. So if you want to have 2, 3 files open at the same time, you would have to have multiple Chrome users for this to work. Okay. And lastly, before we go into our break, the concept of QuickBooks Online apps. So we have the apps, which are third-party applications that connect to QuickBooks or integrate into QuickBooks. That's one of them. And then there's also the app itself without the S. The app is a desktop-based software used to launch QuickBooks Online from the desktop and give you a desktop-ish interface or desktop-ish features, but you're still accessing QuickBooks Online. So you can download the desktop app for free, and you can load all your QuickBooks Online clients. You can access all your QuickBooks Online clients to it. All the buttons are going to be the same and identical, but the QuickBooks Online app will give you additional menu items or menu style items and additional shortcuts. And that's optional. You can still use Google Chrome as we're suggesting, but if you don't use Google Chrome, you can download the QuickBooks Online app and it can launch your QuickBooks Online from there without the need of a browser. Again, for your notes, the benefits of using the QuickBooks Online app, the desktop app instead of a browser, is to get the top menu navigation style and additional shortcuts. Okay, so to download it, you can go to quickbooks.intuit.com/apps or apps.com and you can search for the app there. They have an app both on PC and Mac. Okay, all right. Okay, so module two, 4 topics. Some QuickBooks concepts. We'll talk about some of the. Okay, I just want to make sure my audio works. Wendy, can you confirm that my audio's up and running? And you can see my screen. Okay, perfect. We're ready to go. All right, so we're gonna go on our quote unquote lunch break for 20 minutes between 1:50 and 2:10. Uh, Between now and our lunch break, we're going to give you one more CPE keyword. We already gave you one of the CPE keywords, which hopefully you wrote down. We're going to give you one more, and then we're going to launch the first two for the first half, the first two CPE keyword polling questions that you have to answer those two correctly, and then the next two for you to get the full 4 hours of CPE. Okay, so hopefully you wrote down the CPE keyword. We're going to give you one more, and before our break, halfway through, we're going to ask for the first two. That way, we'll just kind of do two at a time. Module 2, common workflows. Okay, so this is more about the common workflows, and this portion is more about how to use QuickBooks Online. So in this particular module, we're going to cover sort of the A through C, transaction by transaction. How do you do everything in QuickBooks Online in about 30 to 40 minutes? Okay, so let's start with QuickBooks concepts. After this section, you will understand what are the terms used in the world of QuickBooks, how do they uh, how do they relate to accounting terms, and how do they relate to business terms. First one is money in. So if you have money coming in um, into the bank, typically is related to a customer, and we bring money in by doing an invoice or doing a sales receipt. Okay. Then we have money out. Money out is how we pay our vendors. We typically are going to have a bill that we're going to pay later or a check to get money out. Okay, so anything has to do with money in, customers, money out, vendor, that's what we mean by customer and vendor. Also, the word invoice is referring to a customer. The word bill is referring to a vendor. One area of confusion is my vendor may give me an invoice and the paper says invoice, but in QuickBooks, it's not an invoice, it's a bill. Okay, it's really, really important one, a common area of confusion. Another thing is the concept of posting transactions and non-posting transactions. So a posting transaction is transactions that affect my accounting. Okay, there is about 15 posting transactions, invoices, payments, credit memos, sales receipts, refunds, expenses, cash expenses, right? Credit card expense, checks, bills, bill payments with credit cards, vendor credits, credit card credit, sales tax payment, deposit, transfer, journal entries, and inventory quantity adjustment. These are all posting transactions, which means they will affect my accounting. Now, there are non posting transactions like estimates, delayed credit, delayed charges, purchase orders, time tracking. There are more there to create a precursor to the posting transaction, and they're there to help you organize a potential future transaction. So just be sure that to know for the exam which are your non-posting transactions, estimates, purchase orders, they're considered non-posting. Okay, all of the financial activities, all of the transactions that we mentioned there as posting, those are all going to be in that create button. And inside the create button, we're going to see some non-posting transactions like an estimate or a purchase order, but all transactions per se or activities are going to be inside that create button. And like, as we mentioned earlier, they're grouped by whether you're dealing with a customer, vendor, an employee, or other.